Hi, SABG grantees. This is Jessie Dexter, the Substance Abuse Block Grant Project Director with the Idaho Office of Drug Policy. I thought it would be helpful to do a brief quarterly activity report tutorial for you all, especially considering that the Q1 activity report deadline is coming up shortly. I'm hoping to keep this quick, so let's get started. First, I wanted to go over the 2023 SABG timeline with you all, just to review the different quarterly activity reporting periods and the due dates for those reports. So Q1 starts July 1, goes through September 30th of 2022. And the deadline for that Q1 activity report is technically October 10th. Due to some technical issues with the Neighborly system, there was delay and the quarterly activity reporting schedule didn't get set up in a lot of the fiscal year 23 grantee accounts. So we're going to be really flexible with that deadline right now. So if ideally you can get it done by the end of October. So I know October 10th is coming up quick, so you don't have to panic. You're going to have some flexibility in that deadline for Q1. Q2 goes October 1 through December 31st. The due date for that quarterly activity report is January 10th of 2023. Q3 goes from January 1 through March 31st of 2023, with that Q3 activity report due April 10th. And then the fourth and final quarter goes from April 1 through June 30th, with the deadline for that Q4 report being July 10th, 2023. It is important to note that due to the end of the fiscal year and the need to process all of our financials and get those completed before the end of the fiscal year, the due date for reimbursement requests, the hard deadline to get any more reimbursement requests submitted for fiscal year 2023 is June 15th. But the quarterly activity report date is July 10th. So it's important to note the difference between the deadline for the quarterly activity report and the deadline for the reimbursement requests. However, reimbursement requests do not need to follow any kind of quarterly timeline. You don't need to submit reimbursement requests on a quarterly basis. You can submit them as needed at any point throughout all 4 quarters, but you must submit them at the very latest by June 15th in order to get be eligible for reimbursement. So just note the difference between the deadlines between the quarterly activity reports and reimbursement requests. So in this brief tutorial, we're just going to go over how to access your quarterly reports and the different required reporting data, as well as the optional reporting data, how to report on multiple programs, and making sure that you're properly submitting your quarterly activity reports. So getting started, to access your quarterly activity reports, you're going to log into your grantee portal on Neighborly. Neighborly is our grant management software. It's what was used for you to submit your application for the grant. It's used for you guys to submit reimbursement requests for the grant, and it's also what's used for you guys to submit your quarterly activity reports for the grant. So if you click on this link, I am going to open a new page. Get out to the very beginning. Here, I'll sign out. So if you click on this link on your web page, it'll take you to the Neighborly homepage where you have to log in. All of you should have accounts at this point in time. However, if the report will be completed by someone who does not have a Neighborly account or is not a user on your grantee portal, just send me an email and I can make sure to add them as a user onto the grantee portal so that they're able to get into Neighborly and complete this report. Also, in the SABG grantee process guide, there's instructions not only on how to complete quarterly activity reports, but also how to add new users and create Neighborly accounts to help walk through any new staff member, help make sure that they have all the information they need in order to successfully get on to the Neighborly system to be able to support you with any of your reporting or reimbursement needs. So it will start with this page. Let me log in. So when you log in, it'll open up to your homepage. On your homepage, your grantee portal link. So my grantee portal that I have available to me right now is this one. It's a test grantee portal, ODP test 2023, fiscal year 23. So we're just going to click into that one. Then to access your reports, you're going to look over here on the left-hand navigation menu. There's a bunch of different tabs here. There's the basic account homepage, reports, accomplishments, draw requests. This is where you'll go when you're ready to submit a reimbursement request. Application, this is where you can go if you want to review the application that you submitted. earlier this year. This is where any documents may be housed, such as your surveys. And then this is where your users are. So if you would like to add a new user to your account, you can do that yourself by clicking add a user. And that way, if you have a fellow staff member who's going to be helping you with the report, put their email into there. And then when they create a Neighborly portal or an account on Neighborly, and then they log in, your grantee portal will be visible on their homepage. Okay, so we're going to click into the reporting tab. So when you open this up, it has the 4 quarterly activity reports listed by their date range, when they become available, their due date, their status, and whatnot. Most of the quarterly activity reports should open up 30 days in advance of when they're due. So the quarter 1 activity report is due October 10th. So it opened up on September 10th. However, due to technical issues with the Neighborly, and since a lot of our fiscal year 23 grantees didn't have a reporting schedule actually set up yet until recently, because the system had a bit of a failure there, your quarter 1 activity report actually didn't open up until very recently, which is why we're being flexible on the deadline. But I've already opened this, but it would, before you get started, it will actually say available here. I've opened it already, so it says in progress. You'll click on these 3 dots, or I guess you could actually click anywhere to open it up and get started. So the first page it opens up to is a report overview, where it goes over the different quarterly activity report periods. And then it also shares down here a blurb about how each quarterly activity report is intended to capture information for that specific quarter. The quarterly reports are not intended to be cumulative, so please only include information pertaining to the specific quarter on which you're reporting. So quarter 1 is only for activities that happen July 1 through September 30th. And any information provided in the quarter 2 activity report is only for programs, cohorts, participants that took place in quarter 2 from October 1 through December 31st. It's not cumulatively added throughout the year. So when I've already done the report overview page, but when you're ready to move on, there's a button down here that says complete and continue. You'll click on that button. It'll add a little green check mark up here to this box, and then you can move over to program 1. If you're reporting on multiple programs, you can report on those programs in whatever order you want. It's really up to you. So program 1 is just going to be the first, either the only program you have or the first program you want to report on. You'll provide information on the program activity type, program activity name, the strategy, the IOM category, and then you will also provide information on the population risk factors. So the population that you were providing services to or working with in quarter 1, what were some of the risk factors that that population was exposed to? And this is all information that ODP needs for our federal reports. So it's really important that you guys try to provide this. And that's why we ask this information. It's stuff that we gather from you in order to do for our federal reports for the grant as a whole. So the population risk factors, you can click all of the ones you want or that are applicable. Next is cohort information. So you will share the total number of cohorts completed during this quarter. And please know that when you click on this box, it's a number specific box. So you can only type in numerical numbers. You cannot type in letters. So if you try, nothing will pop up. But if you type in a numerical number, it'll pop up. And it's, for some reason, numerical numbers are always right aligned. So just keep note of that. If you're having an issue trying to get something in here, it's probably because you're using letters and you need to use numbers. Total number of sessions completed during the quarter and total number of participants. These are just example numbers. So far, this is all required information. You're required to report on your program. You are required to report the cohorts, and you're required to report on the participants' demographic information. So the first demographic question is participants by race. So if you do know, you will put in these numbers here. And if you don't know, like if you had participants whose race you didn't know, you're more than welcome to just put race not known. So say you had 10 participants and you really don't know the race of any of them, you're more than welcome just to put that total number, all of them, in race not known. We understand that sometimes this information can be hard to collect. Next, you're going to be asked to provide information on participants by ethnicity. So that would be whether they are not Hispanic or Latino or whether they are Hispanic or Latino. And again, if you don't know, then it's completely fine. Just put the total number of participants you had whose ethnicity you do not know and put it into the unknown box. Then you'll provide some information on participants by gender. So if you do know this information, you will provide it in these boxes here, male, female. And again, if you don't know the gender of all of your participants and you're not able to figure out that information out, you can just put all of those in unknown. So don't worry if you don't know all of these details about all of your participants. Participants by age. So if you were able to capture that information, or if you know which age group you've been working with over the past quarter, you can provide the number of participants by age. And if you don't know how many, like the ages of the different participants, you can always put that there were participants whose age is just unknown to you. That's also fine. Next up is program fidelity. So while all of this up here is required, program fidelity is a little bit squishier. So program fidelity is only required for grantees that are implementing direct service programs. So if program 1 is a direct service program, you'll click yes. But please note, if you click no, nothing happens. So if you didn't do a direct service program, if this specific program is a direct service program, just click no and move on. But if it was, then you'll click yes. And if you did implement a direct service program in quarter 1, then you are required to provide and report information on program fidelity. So you'll click yes. This kind of box will expand and it'll provide you with some detailed instructions of how to complete the program fidelity questions below. So you will answer where all of the sessions, well, I guess we can start off, we can just go over the instructions together. So in completing the fidelity section below, read the questions and give your organization a rating on how well your program implementation aligned with the curriculum. If you select a rating of always, you can ignore the following 3 columns and move on to the next question. If you select a rating of most of the time, some of the time, or never, you must fill out the following 3 columns. If your program implementation did not always align with the curriculum, you must clarify whether this was due to necessity, so changes made by factors beyond the facilitator's control, or circumstances that necessitated changes the facilitator is unlikely to have made otherwise, or to make improvements, so changes that were made for the purpose of program improvements are those that the facilitator felt could improve the original program design. You can do this by simply marking the necessity or to make improvement columns with an X. Lastly, please explain the reason for adjusting program implementation in the notes on specific reasons for change. So if we're talking about, say, for example, an evidence-based program, positive action, too good for drugs, were all the sessions from the curriculum delivered? And if they were, or as needed in quarter 1 for the cohorts that you're reporting on, then you can say always, most of the time, some of the time, never. If they were all delivered, then you can click always and you don't need to answer any of these other questions. Did the length of the curriculum match, did the length of the sessions match the curriculum? You say most of the time, say for some of your sessions had to be cut short or had to be extended for different reasons. You can click most of the time. But if you use any of these, most of the time, some of the time, or never, you do have to provide some follow-up information in these next 3 columns. So say the length of the sessions were shortened. Was that out of necessity due to extenuating circumstances, or was that done to make improvements to help the program, work better within the population that you're serving? So whether it was out of necessity or make improvements, you can mark it by just putting an X in one of the boxes. And then over here, you will explain why the changes were necessary or needed. And then you'll go down just like that. So did the frequency of sessions match the curriculum? Some of the time, I did that to make improvements. Here is why. Were the sessions delivered in the same order as the curriculum? Always. And if you click always, you don't need to fill this out. Were all the topics covered within each session? Never. That would not be great. And were the materials or handouts the same as the curriculum? Always. Was the format of delivery the same as the original design? Most of the time. Okay, so that is what you need to do if you're reporting on a program that involved providing direct service. Once you're done with that, then the last question here is any additional comments. This is optional, it's not required, but this is an opportunity for you to share any other thoughts about barriers or challenges to implementation, any successes you had, or if you have any needs for additional training or follow-up, if you need anything from our office, or if you had a great success story that you want to share, feel free to put it in here. And this doesn't have a word limit, so you can keep writing. I actually think if you, I guess it can stretch out this way, but as you write, it'll expand, so you can write as much as you want. Next down here, documentation. So we have this little section where it says where you can upload attendance records. You can really upload anything here. We have had grantees in the past that wanted to upload attendance records, and we provide an attendance records spreadsheet to you. We provided that earlier this year when we did that pre and post survey follow-up email, I believe, but I can send that back out to you guys. If you want to upload your attendance records, you're more than welcome. It's not required. If you want to upload other supporting documentation that you think provides more context to the activities you did in that quarter, you're more than welcome. It's not required. Uploading supporting documentation is an option, but it's not mandatory. One thing to note is that once you're done with your program one, you have the option to, if you need to step away and then come back to the quarterly activity report, you don't have to complete it all in one swing. You can simply click save, and then you can leave your computer, leave Neighborly, come back to it later and restart, and it'll be there. But if you're done with your reporting on program one, you can click complete, continue. Okay, now you have green check boxes by report overview, program one, and now you want to move on to program two. So do you have a second program? If so, select yes and proceed with the application. If not, you'll select no, and then you'll click complete and continue. And this is a little bit of a finicky thing within the Neighborly system. Since our grantees, they have programs, the number of programs our grantees have range from 1 program to up to 5 programs. So therefore, we have some grantees that need to report on 1 program. We have some that need to report on 3 programs. We have some that need to report on 5 programs. So in order to allow the reporting structure to fit the needs of all of our grantees, there is a reporting tab for up to 5 programs. And you do need to click complete and continue on each and every one of these tabs. So if you do have a program 2, you'll click yes, and then you will proceed to complete the report. All of this information is the exact same as program 1 that I just went through. So you would complete the report and click complete and continue and move on. If you don't have a program 2, you would click no. Either way, it's extremely important that you click complete and continue. You need to click complete and continue. And here's why, because when you click complete and continue, it marks that program reporting page as complete and closed. So now there's a little green check mark right here. And that little green check mark is very important because every single one of these boxes needs to have a little green check mark for you to successfully submit your quarterly activity report. So now you'll move on to program 3. Again, if you have one, just click open for yes. If you don't have a third program, click no. Either way, you can fill out this information, fill it out, complete it, click complete, continue. And you have to do the same thing with program 4. I don't have a 4th program, so I'm going to click no, and I'm going to click complete and continue. I don't have a 5th program, so I'm going to click no, click complete and continue. Okay, lastly, now we're on the final step. We're going to go to the submit page. So, and you can get to the submit page before you've completed, like click complete and continue on the other pages. But if you go, say you just finished program 1 and you just want to skip to submit without clicking on the complete and continue button for these other pages, program 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can technically electronically sign your report, but it won't be successfully submitted. So only now, we have these green check marks on every single box, do we get to submit. We click electronic to electronically sign. And then we click complete and submit. Okay, and so now it has been successfully submitted because there's a green check mark on every single tab. So if we go back to our reporting page, this is what it'll look like. The status of it is complete, 7 of 7 steps completed. It says who it was submitted by and the date that it was completed. If you want to print it, you can by clicking on these 3 little dots here. If you have any questions, if you realize you put a number in incorrectly and you want to reopen your quarterly activity report, you won't be able to do that on your end automatically, but you can send me an email and I'm happy to reopen your report to allow you to go in and make corrections. That's not a problem. But once you submit it, it is locked and you're not able to make any changes. However, we can definitely reopen it and help facilitate those changes if needed. Great, and so that's pretty much it until the Q2 activity report, which will open in, it becomes available December 2022. So if you guys have any questions, I'm gonna go to my other, let me just, cool. So here we go. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I hope that this is helpful, and I will plan on organizing a quarterly activity report training later this month to dive into greater detail, provide more opportunity for grantee discussion, and provide an opportunity to ask some questions. But in the meantime, I'll send this out to you guys along with the SABG process guide to help you guys get started on that Q1 activity report. Have a great day.